Today, let's start the journey and dive right into our first series, relationships. Here's 7 obstacles that's affecting your relationships every day. Hi, I'm Aaron, and welcome to my channel called Lessons Learned. Today, let's start the journey and dive right into our first series, relationships. Today, throughout our series, we'll be talking about what's affecting your relationships every day to help you along this journey towards the truth, and hopefully, you can help me on this journey. On this channel, I hope to shed some light on this journey by not only giving my opinion about what's going on in our society, but facts, so that there be some light along your way towards the truth. But before I talk about lessons I learned on my journey and advise you about your relationships, here's 3 valuable tips for your relationships and the best advice I can give you for this series. Number 1, do not give advice if you cannot take your own. Number 2, do not take advice from someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart. Number 3, ask yourself, is this person I'm taking advice from a good person or have any good results? Keep this in mind the next time someone gives you advice. Here's 7 obstacles that's affecting your relationships every day. Number 1, addictions. Addictions can be a huge obstacle that affects your relationships because if it's not a healthy addiction, it will stop you from having a healthy relationships, like being addicted to marijuana, cocaine, alcohol, etc. Number 2, false teachings. Also, another obstacle that affects your relationships is false teachings from people, which can be from your parents, your teachers, your leaders, etc. False teachings can lead to self-destructive outcomes because it affects your choices you make every day. That's why it's important to do your own research to find the truth. Number 3, politics. Politics can affect your relationships even if you're not political like me, because your leaders who make laws and policies affect you every single day because you have to follow them. Also, people usually have arguments depending on which leaders they voted for because of their beliefs and policies. They feel that they should change in our society. For example, if you're a Democrat or a Republican, a conservative or a liberal, this is what usually starts debates because of what they believe in. Fact checkers can check me on that. Number 4, race. Even now today, it's sad to say racism still exists here, and it's affecting your relationships. It's not only I will explain, but abolish racism in our upcoming series. Unfortunately, there's people who still discriminate and hate based off of race. Number 5, religion. Religion is also another obstacle that affects your relationships because we all believe in something, and not everyone believes in the same way or God. Religion is also culture and traditions, not just belief. For example, there are Catholics, Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, and atheists. Number 6, conspiracies or myths. Also, conspiracies or myths is also another obstacle that affects your relationships. Here's a few examples of conspiracies or myths. Is 5G linked to COVID-19?
The reason public health measures work is because the public, for the most part, believes in them, trusts the science and the public health officers. That trust is crucial. Without it, people won't comply, and we know there are many conspiracy theories out there conspiring to erode public trust. Tonight, Jeff Semple looks at one of them, the mistaken belief 5G technology is tied to the COVID-19 outbreak.
For police in Quebec, this has fast become a familiar sight. A cellular tower set ablaze. In 1 week, police responded to 7 similar fires, all targeting cell towers. They've since arrested a couple in their 20s and are investigating whether they might have been motivated by a conspiracy theory.
is your cell phone spying on you.
Of wireless access points in the world, because just like we talked about, every phone has a unique identifier that's globally unique. Every wireless access point in the world, right? Your cable modem at home, whether it's in your laptop, every device that has a radio modem has a globally unique identifier. They can see everything about you, they can see everything about what your device is doing, and they can do whatever they want with your device. You, on the other hand, owned the device. Well, rather, you paid for the device. But increasingly these corporations own it, increasingly these governments own it, and increasingly we are living in a world where we do all the work, right? We pay all the taxes, we pay all the costs, but we own less and less. And nobody understands this better than the youngest generation.
Did the government release the coronavirus as a weapon?
The Chinese military had probed weaponizing coronavirus in 2015, claims a leaked document quoted in Australian and British media. The Australian newspaper said that the bombshell documents obtained by US State Department showed PLA scientists and officers making a sinister prediction about World War II being fought with biological weapons that would cause the enemy's medical system to collapse. Australian analysts say that this is close to a smoking gun evidence as it can be. The Chinese media has called this a smear campaign. Here's a look at a very disturbing report coming in.
As the world continues to battle the seemingly endless coronavirus pandemic, here comes a bone-chilling revelation. The Chinese military considered weaponizing the new coronavirus years before the pandemic struck the world.
Are aliens real?
Videos recorded by U.S. Navy personnel have added a new layer of evidence to the current national debate about UFOs. For the first time, radar images recorded inside a Navy ship have confirmed the presence of several unknown objects that swarmed around the ship for hours. I-Team reporter George Knapp here with a story that broke today on Mystery Wire.
Thanks, Brian. Over the past 3 years or so, the public has been able to see several astounding images of what certainly qualify as UFOs during encounters with the U.S. Navy.
Is God real?
I don't know if God exists. Deeply religious people are certain he exists. He, or it. There are ardent atheists who are sure God does not exist. My posture is, particularly in the monotheistic traditions, that God is typically described as being all-knowing, all-powerful, and all good. Yet I look back through history, in particular there was I can choose many examples, but a famous example is the earthquake in Lisbon, Portugal. When was it? 1755, somewhere around there. 80,000 people died. By the way, that earthquake took place on All Saints' Day, in the morning, when most people, Lisbon, one of the holiest cities in Europe, most people were in church. Churches were the largest structures of the day. If you have an earthquake, what's the first building to collapse? It's the ones that are the largest, the most susceptible. So, people died in churches.
Number 7, self-values. Also, your self-values on what you believe about yourself and others can affect your relationships. For example, like if you value yourself more than others. Values are stable, long-lasting beliefs about what is important to a person. Is your values good or bad? We'll answer all these obstacles that's affecting your relationships on this channel to help you on this journey towards the truth. These tips will help you along this series, but if you missed the previous video, which has 7 tips towards the journey towards the truth, I advise you to grab those 7 tips because this will prepare you and help you on this journey before we expose what's really going on in our society. That being said, let's get to know each other for a moment, because I bet you're probably wondering, who are you? And why should I take advice from a speaker like you? So, who am I? Am I a speaker for the woke, like Russell Brand?
together
I agree,
in cities
but
and
do you
towns.
not think this individualistic culture is in itself destroying the principles at a spiritual, human level of community? Do you not think when people see this economic inequality, this disparity, I'm not talking about hating your little rich friend Lola Bell or whoever it was, you went round to see her nanny and weren't infuriated by it but thought, oh, well, maybe one day I'll have my own nanny. Do you not think that economic inequality creates in a human being a sense of injustice, of unfairness? Because people, do you know what, Candice? 90% of people that are rich, do you know why they're rich? They was born rich. Are you mental? Incest. The richest 15 people on the planet have got as much accumulative wealth as the poorest 5 billion.
But you're
That's
talking...
an excess.
No.
That's an excess.
Okay, excuse me. First and foremost, you're talking about literally 0.00001% of the world is what
Let's
you're talking
get 'em.
about. Okay,
Let's
but
get 'em.
and what are they preaching? What do they want? Socialism, so that nobody else has the opportunity to become what they've become. They're the ones that are
They're
pushing
not preaching
forward.
socialism.
Yes,
That's not
they
real
are.
socialism. Well,
Are you kidding? George Soros doesn't want socialist policies. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, doesn't want socialist policies.
I think that one's reality is a result of your intention and your attention. It's through spiritual practice that I've recognised that my own impermanence, my own irrelevance, the fact that I'm just a person shuffling through life, I ain't really no different now from when I was a little kid. And all I want really is that I don't want that feeling in my stomach that people are being treated badly. I don't want a feeling that people are being exploited. People need to live spiritual lives, all of us. I'm a person, and it's good to have access to the infinite consciousness that is available to all people, but through the five senses is delineated, keeping us trapped on a material plane. We think reality is what we can apportion through the limited instruments of the senses, but reality is, of course, far beyond that. Spiritual data, we don't have the correct instruments to receive it, and we live primarily in the realm of the senses. Right, I wonder that, some people, I think, give them a quick dose, because I as well, I respect Brian, and it's further to my point, similar to the hunting argument. I happen to believe in God, but when I talked to Brian Cox, I got to the point where I was saying, all right, even though I believe in God and you are an atheist, although he said I don't call myself an atheist, I felt like we both got to the point where we said compassion, kindness and love are the most important things. So in a way, who cares so when how you get there? Hello there, fellow humans. Why be spiritual? What are the real benefits? Here is a video based on Ryan T. Howell's findings. He's got a PhD, so let's not criticise him too swiftly. 1. Spiritual people are gracious. If you are grateful for the things you have in your life, you will feel more connected and liberated from constant cynicism and doubt and fear. Aren't you always amazed when you see people that have undergone great trauma, physical, spiritual, medical, and they... hello and welcome to my Awakening side channel. Just lighting a candle because, as you know, I'm well spiritual. I don't know if you've seen Watkins' Mind, Body, Spirit magazine, but I'm one of the world's most spiritualist people. In fact, I'm not far behind the likes of Pope Dalai Lama, Greta Thunberg, Sadhguru, Eckhart Tolle, Desmond Tutu, God rest his soul, Oprah Winfrey. Then it's me, Old Russ, the 8th spiritualist geezer in the world.
Am I a speaker for Black America, like Candace Owens?
The ancestry of Black Americans is being insulted every single day. I will not pretend to be a victim in this country, and I know that makes many people on the left uncomfortable.
Well, I think it drew attention for a lot of reasons. I think in many ways people on the right felt vindicated. And I know that there were a lot of moderate people that came over and realized that what I was talking about were actually real issues in Black America. I touched upon the illiteracy rates. 75% of Black boys in California not being able to read is a problem in Black America. White nationalism, when black-on-black crime, 90.1% of all homicides against Black Americans are performed by other Black Americans.
I haven't even finished the sentence. How am I making light of anything?
With some bull. When you say make America great again, which period are we talking about? The period when women couldn't vote? The period when we were hanging from trees?
I'll answer.
Or like the crack era? Which period in America are you trying to make America like again?
I actually think that I would totally rock a hat right now that said make Black America great again. Because Black America,
make America.
Before,
we're talking about make America. That wasn't the question.
I am answering your question.
Which period was America great that we're trying to replicate? Which era was it? Tell me.
I think I'll answer your question. I'm ready to answer your question.
Which era was it?
What?
Which era was so great?
Here's the thing that you guys are forgetting. America was actually one of the slavery was all over the world. All over the world. America was. I'm not saying it's okay. So why are you saying oh?
Hey man,
America was one of the first countries.
I want to like you so bad. Because you're so smart. I want to like you so much.
I can't answer the question.
I want to hear you. I want to be able to hear them. I want to be able to hear them.
If I can't answer the question and you're just going to boo when I say slavery was all over the world, which is a fact, why are you booing a fact?
Because you're making light of.
No, I'm not.
You're making light
I
of
haven't
the
gotten to my points.
enslavement
I'm not
of
making
people that look like us. You can't make light of that. That ain't nothing you
I haven't
breeze
even
over.
finished the sentence. How am I making light of anything?
You started with some bull.
What she was trying to say and did say eventually is that America was one of the first countries to, she said, free our ancestors. Nope, it was one of the last. So it's just revisionist history. And then the question is, why? Why are you doing revisionist history?
Because that money is real nice, right? I mean, look, come on, are we gonna pretend like she isn't influenced by the same influences that have changed the political ideology of individuals like Dave Rubin?
You would rather assign meaning to a homicidal maniac than to actually address the things that I said today that are actually harming Black America. Number one, father absence. Number two, the education system and the illiteracy rate. Illegal immigration ranks high, abortion ranks high, white supremacy and white nationalism, if I had to make a list again of 100 things, would not be on it. This hearing, in my opinion, is a farce, and it is ironic that you're sitting here and you're having 3 Caucasian people testify and tell you what their expertise are. Do I know what my expertise are? Black in America. I've been Black in America my whole life, all 30 years, and I can tell you that you guys have done the exact same thing every 4 years ahead of an election cycle, and it needs to stop.
I'll yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows.
Am I a speaker of reason, like Joe Rogan?
Yes, the climate changes. It was different weather yesterday than it was today.
Rogan proceeded to bring up scientific studies, exposing her as uninformed and warning her to be careful what she says owing to her public influence.
How about not have a belief until you really have looked at the
you
data?
would prefer if my language, as opposed to admitting that I do not know this, I wouldn't die on this hill, I've never made a video, I've never made a public statement, you would have preferred if I had just started by saying I have no opinion.
You can't let people just go around slapping people, and that is whether you think it's violence or not. It's violence.
It's violence.
It's violence.
It was violence that happened on TV.
Yeah.
It was violent.
To like what Will Smith did to Chris Rock, that is not a crime
Yeah.
to do to your wife in Russia.
Yeah. Chris Rock should have fucking hit him back.
He should have jumped on his back as soon as he turned his back like that. We put stars and celebrities up on pedestals, but they're just human beings. And sometimes human beings get pushed to the point where they do something irrational.
Right.
And that's what he did. He just did something totally irrational.
It has been weeks after the Oscar incident, and people are still talking about it. One person who recently spoke out about the incident is Joe Rogan.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Joe Rogan may be the most popular broadcaster in the English-speaking world right now. Every episode of his podcast, called The Joe Rogan Experiences, reaches about 11 million people, and some of the episodes get an audience many times that. How many people is that? It's a lot. For perspective, last night, CNN's highest-rated show had a little over 700,000 viewers total. So Joe Rogan is big, and unlike CNN, he's not especially political. His show covers pretty much everything: comedy, science, nutrition, the paranormal, recreational drug use, exercise, mixed martial arts, music, Hollywood, and a huge range of other topics, often with guests you've never heard of. Rogan is not a reactionary, unlike most people in the media. He doesn't think he already knows everything. He's genuinely curious, and so he lets his guests speak. His longest interview lasted for more than 5 hours. It was with a stand-up comedian. When Rogan does talk about politics, it's pretty clear he's not an ideologue. He interviews everybody, liberals and conservatives, as well as a lot of people like Mike Tyson, who could be either one. And he does it most of the time with respect and self-deprecation. He's not an expert on politics. He's not pretending to be one. Rogan just asks questions, and he notes the obvious. It's this last quality that makes the people in charge hate and fear Joe Rogan. If you're trying to sell an absurd, obviously untrue idea, it is possible that Joe Rogan's going to call you on it. Not because he's a partisan, he's not, but because he just can't help but notice. That's his secret. A few months ago, Rogan watched the White House press secretary lie about the FDA's approval process for Pfizer's COVID vaccine. So he said something about it. Watch.
Jen Psaki's talking about misinformation online and combating misinformation. She distributed misinformation.
Of course.
Because she said that it's approved by the FDA and their gold standard.
No. So who am I? I am an independent thinker like these individuals, but I seek out the truth because I believe there's something wrong in our society. If we are to become a better society, we must change ourselves and expose the problems in our society. I'm nothing more than a citizen of the United States of America who seeks out the truth about what's really going on in our society, the real truth that's beyond the surface of the naked eye, because I believe there's something wrong in our society. And I'm going to expose the truth so that hopefully we can possibly have a better society. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes, and I learned from them. But there are people and topics that must be exposed and discussed in our society if we are to become better. So who am I? I'm Aaron. In time, you'll see. Here's a lesson I learned along my way that will save you from a bad relationship. You can't get to know a person in a single day. It takes time to get to know a person. If you want a good relationship, that is. This is a valuable lesson I learned along my journey. It's up to you to take my advice on this journey towards the truth. Life is a journey, and I'm learning at every turn. I know I'm young, but just know I know enough to say lessons learned. Subscribe to my channel. Press the notification bell to stay updated on lessons I learned and the things that I will be exposing in our society. I'll see you in the next video. Farewell.